Imagine this. You wake up, have your usual breakfast, maybe some toast, eggs, or a light snack. You feel fine. But by lunchtime, something's happening deep inside your body. Your arteries, the highways of your heart, are under attack. Not next week, not next year, today, within hours. I'm a cardiologist, and what I discovered shocked me. A single meal, yes, just one meal, can inflame, stiffen, and damage your arteries, making them more likely to clog, rupture, or trigger a heart attack. And the worst part? It's likely a food you eat regularly. Maybe even think is healthy. Today, I'm going to walk you through the real-time damage this common food causes, what actually happens in your blood vessels just 1 hour after eating it, the new heart attack trends we're seeing in people over 60, and how to protect yourself, starting with your next meal. Because I've seen it, people arrive in the ER with heart attack symptoms, tight chest, jaw pain, shortness of breath, just an hour after eating what they thought was a harmless snack. This isn't fear-mongering, it's fact. And if you're over 60, you need to know this now. Stick with me. I'll reveal the exact food in part 4, but first, let's understand why your arteries are so vulnerable in the first place. And don't miss the tip I share in the middle of this video, one habit that can instantly reduce your risk. Your arteries aren't just pipes. They're living tissue, flexible, responsive, and protective. Think of them like garden hoses lined with velvet, smooth on the inside, soft yet strong. But as we age, especially after 60, those velvet linings start to wear down. They become less elastic, more fragile, and easier to damage. It's like driving on a road full of cracks. Eventually, something gives. Here's the danger. Every time you eat a meal that's high in processed oils, sugar, or certain fats, it's like spraying acid on those velvet walls. You might not feel it, but under a microscope, your arteries are screaming. This is where inflammation begins, and inflammation is the match that lights the fire of atherosclerosis, the slow buildup of plaque that narrows your arteries and sets the stage for a heart attack. Let's break it down simply. Your blood vessels are lined with something called the endothelium, a thin, protective layer. This layer regulates blood flow, keeps your blood from clotting unnecessarily, and produces nitric oxide to help arteries relax. But when you eat inflammatory foods, this lining becomes damaged, leaky, and stiff. It's like pouring grease into your car's engine. It may run for a while, but one day, everything locks up. And for people over 60, your body's repair systems naturally slow down. Your antioxidant defenses are weaker. Your insulin sensitivity drops. Your blood becomes more prone to clotting. That's why heart attack symptoms in seniors can feel vague, fatigue, dizziness, nausea. Many brush it off as just getting older. But in truth, a heart attack might already be in motion, and you may not even know it. And the trend is alarming. According to new heart health studies, there's been a sharp rise in post-meal cardiovascular events in seniors. That's right, heart attacks triggered not by stress or exercise, but by what was on the plate. These aren't just heart attacks that happen someday. They're happening today, within hours. That's why you'll hear more about the heart attack 1-hour phenomenon in hospitals across the country. Quick recap before we move on. Your arteries are vulnerable. They're aging, and what you put in your body, especially after 60, either builds them up or tears them down. No in between. Coming up next, we'll look at what happens inside your body just hours after you eat a seemingly harmless meal. Trust me, you'll never look at your plate the same way again. You eat the meal. It tastes good, comforting, familiar. But your arteries, they don't feel comforted. They feel attacked. Let me take you inside your body into the bloodstream within 30 to 60 minutes after that harmless meal. Hour 1. Your blood thickens like syrup. The moment that food hits your digestive system, particularly ultra-processed fats or refined carbs, your blood sugar spikes. Insulin floods in. And what does that do? It causes inflammation in your arteries. Your blood becomes thicker, stickier, like syrup instead of wine. Your platelets, those little clotting agents, start clustering. And for someone over 60 whose arteries are already narrower, this is the perfect storm. Hour 2. The endothelium suffocates. Remember the endothelium, the protective lining of your arteries? Well, now it's under attack. That heavy meal causes your arteries to stiffen, narrow, and produce less nitric oxide, the very chemical your heart relies on to stay calm and flexible. Blood pressure rises, but there's less room in the artery for blood to move. It's like trying to drive a semi-truck through a 2-lane street during rush hour. At this stage, many seniors experience early heart attack symptoms: fatigue, chest tightness, lightheadedness, indigestion, or pain in the jaw or left arm. But because it's subtle, most people say, "I'm just tired today." Must have been the weather. Maybe I didn't sleep well. Purr. 3. The clotting begins. If your arteries are already inflamed, full of tiny plaques, and you now introduce thicker blood, your body does what it thinks is helpful. It tries to clot. But that clot can block an artery completely. And when that happens, blood flow to your heart stops. Cells start dying, and a heart attack begins. All of this, not over weeks, but in just hours. Why is this worse for people over 60? Because your arteries are stiffer. Plaque buildup is more advanced. Blood pressure regulation is weaker. Nitric oxide production is cut in half. It's like your body is already walking a tightrope. That one bad meal, it's the gust of wind that tips you over. Real stories from the ER. I've had patients, people just like you, who came into the ER saying, "Doctor, I didn't do anything unusual. I was just sitting on the couch after lunch." But their heart attack began less than an hour after eating fast food, microwave dinners, fried snacks, or even low-fat frozen meals loaded with chemical oils and added sugars. This is the new heart attack trend we're seeing. Not stress, not exertion, but post-meal cardiovascular events, and it's rising fastest in seniors. Before we move on to reveal the specific food behind this reaction, take 3 seconds. Tap the like button if you've ever experienced weird fatigue after a meal, and share this video with someone you love over 60. It could literally save their life. In the next section, I'll reveal the specific food group that causes this storm inside your body and why you likely have it in your kitchen right now. So, what is the food that causes so much damage so quickly? Is it sugar? Bread? Salt? No. The most damaging culprit I see, again and again, in seniors suffering from sudden heart attacks is highly refined vegetable oils. Think soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, especially when heated or reused. Yes, the oils sold as heart-healthy for decades are doing the exact opposite when overused or cooked at high heat. Why they're dangerous? These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which promote inflammation in the body. Chemically unstable, which means they oxidize when heated. Think deep frying or even pan sautéing. Often found in ultra-processed foods like fried chicken, French fries, chips and crackers, microwave popcorn, packaged salad dressings, frozen meals, and even healthy granola bars. When you eat these oils, especially when combined with sugar or starch, you trigger a perfect storm. Inflammation of your endothelium, oxidative stress, thickened blood, increased plaque instability, a higher risk of heart attack within hours. For seniors over 60, it's even worse, because as your arteries age, the damage accumulates faster. Your repair mechanisms slow down, and your endothelial lining, the shield of your arteries, becomes more vulnerable to toxic fats. This is why I've seen patients suffer post-meal chest pain or silent heart attack symptoms just hours after indulging in what seemed like an innocent comfort meal. One of my patients had a heart attack an hour after eating a plate of fried fish and chips cooked in reused vegetable oil. He was 66, never smoked, walked daily. But his arteries told a different story. Why haven't we heard this sooner? Because for decades we were told these oils were better than butter. But the science has changed, and now we know. Omega-6 overload, inflammation, arterial damage, especially dangerous in aging populations already prone to heart attack trends and cardiovascular events. Coming up next, I'll walk you through exactly how this damage becomes a heart attack, from the plate to the bloodstream to the emergency room. 3 foods that actually heal your arteries instead of hurt them. It may sound dramatic, but for many people over 60, a single meal can set off a chain reaction that ends in a heart attack. Not in days or weeks, but in as little as 1 hour. Yes, you read that right. In the same time it takes to watch your favorite TV show, the food on your plate can become the spark that lights the fire inside your arteries. It starts with an innocent-looking plate. Picture this. You sit down to a comforting meal. Maybe it's crispy fried chicken, golden French fries, or even a simple bag of crackers made with vegetable oil. It feels familiar, it tastes good, but beneath the surface a storm is brewing. The refined carbs spike your blood sugar like a firework. The inflammatory oils, like soybean or corn oil, trigger chaos in your blood vessels. Your immune system, thinking something is wrong, kicks into overdrive. Inside your body, it's not just digestion happening. It's inflammation, oxidative stress, and vessel damage all at once. Your arteries are under attack. Imagine your blood vessels like smooth, flexible highways. After this type of meal, those highways become jammed, cracked, and inflamed. Bad cholesterol, oxidized LDL, starts to stick to the walls. Your immune system responds by sending white blood cells, like fire trucks, to a false alarm. These cells, trying to patch things up, actually form plaque, thick, unstable buildup inside the artery walls. Over time, it's like duct tape inside a pipe. But one day, that patch rips loose. The plaque ruptures, and the heart is starved. When a plaque suddenly ruptures, your body panics. It sends clotting agents to seal the rupture, but in doing so, it blocks blood flow to the heart, and that's when the real danger begins. Within minutes, heart muscle cells begin to die due to lack of oxygen. Pain radiates through your chest, left arm, jaw, or doesn't show up at all. You may not even realize what's happening until it's too late. This is a silent heart attack, and for many seniors, it strikes without warning. The heart attack after one meal phenomenon. Cardiologists are now warning about a shocking trend. Just one meal high in bad fats and refined carbs can lead to acute artery inflammation and significantly raise the risk of a heart attack within the hour. How? After eating, you feel full, tired, maybe take a nap. An hour later, your arteries are inflamed, blood is thicker, and your heart is struggling to pump. In some cases, that's all it takes. And remember, most people over 60 already have some level of plaque buildup. That meal might be the final straw. Why older adults are especially vulnerable. After the age of 60, arteries lose elasticity. Plaque becomes more fragile. The body's repair systems slow down. Heart function becomes less forgiving. Even if you feel fine, your blood vessels may not be. That's why a single bad meal can have outsized consequences, especially if combined with stress, dehydration, or underlying conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes. But here's the good news. Just as one bad meal can harm you, one smart decision can start to heal you. You're not powerless. In fact, you're about to discover the top foods that clear arteries, reduce inflammation, and protect your heart naturally. Stay with us. In the next part, we'll reveal the foods cardiologists wish more patients ate. Foods that can help reverse damage, strengthen your arteries, and even help prevent a heart attack after eating. Quick recap. Yes, a heart attack can happen within an hour of a bad meal. The culprits: fried foods, refined carbs, inflammatory oils. Seniors are at higher risk due to aging vessels and slower recovery. But you can turn the tide, starting with what's on your plate. Coming up next, the life-saving foods your arteries crave. Don't click away now, because your next meal could be the one that saves your heart instead of hurting it. If one meal can harm your heart, then one smart choice can help heal it. And no, it's not about expensive supplements or fad diets. We're talking about real everyday foods, the kind you can pick up at your local store. These aren't just healthy. They're like medicine on a plate, foods that help calm inflammation, repair artery walls, and even reverse early heart damage. Let's explore the top 5 cardiologist-approved foods that could save your heart, one bite at a time. 1. Avocados, your artery's best friend. Rich in heart, healthy monounsaturated fats, avocados act like a soothing balm for inflamed blood vessels. They help reduce LDL, bad cholesterol, while increasing the HDL, good kind. Think of avocados as the olive oil of the produce aisle, but even creamier and packed with potassium, which helps control blood pressure. Fun fact, people who eat avocados regularly have been shown to have fewer plaque buildups in key arteries like the carotid, leading to your brain. Try it. Add half an avocado to your morning toast, salad, or a smoothie. Small change, big protection. 2. Beans, nature's little heart. Shields beans might not look impressive, but inside they're packed with fiber, plant-based protein, and antioxidants. The soluble fiber helps sweep cholesterol out of your system like a broom. They also stabilize blood sugar, which is critical for avoiding the insulin spikes that can damage arteries over time. A 2021 study showed that eating 1 cup of beans daily lowered LDL cholesterol by nearly 10% in just 4 weeks. Try it. Add black beans to tacos, chickpeas to your salad, or make a warm lentil soup. Cheap, comforting, and powerful. 3. Berries. Tiny but mighty blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. These little gems are bursting with flavonoids, which help relax blood vessels and reduce oxidative stress. That's the stuff that rusts your insides. Their natural sweetness also helps satisfy cravings without spiking your blood sugar. One Harvard study found that women who ate the most berries had a 34% lower risk of heart attack. Try it. Add a handful to your oatmeal or yogurt. Even frozen berries deliver the benefits. 4. Garlic, the natural blood pressure. Pill garlic isn't just for flavor, it's been used as medicine for centuries. It contains allicin, a compound that improves circulation, lowers blood pressure, and may even prevent plaque formation. In some clinical studies, garlic supplements performed nearly as well as prescription BP medications without the side effects. Try it. Mince fresh garlic into your meals or lightly roast it. For even more effect, talk to your doctor about garlic extract capsules. 5. Extra virgin olive oil, liquid gold for your heart. Used throughout the Mediterranean diet, olive oil has been proven to reduce heart disease risk dramatically. It's full of anti-inflammatory compounds and helps make your plate more heart protective without sacrificing flavor. Just 2 tablespoons per day can significantly improve artery function, even in seniors with existing heart disease. Try it. Drizzle it on veggies, use it as salad dressing, or dip whole grain bread in it instead of butter. What happens when you combine these foods regularly? You get a heart-protective, anti-inflammatory eating pattern without obsessing over calories or going on a restrictive diet. This is the type of eating cardiologists recommend, not just to lower your heart attack risk, but to improve your energy, memory, blood pressure, and mood. It's not about being perfect. It's about eating more of the things that heal, and fewer of the ones that harm. So far, we've exposed the dangerous food that can trigger artery damage in just 1 hour. And now you have the power to fight back with these 5 life-saving foods. But what if damage has already been done? We'll show you how to assess your current heart risk, even if you feel perfectly fine, and what warning signs your body might be sending you before a heart attack strikes. And if you've ever wondered, how would I even know if my arteries are clogged? You won't want to miss what's next. Your heart doesn't ask for much. It simply wants what you want: time, peace, a chance to keep going strong for the people you love. But time only comes if you take action before the warning signs appear. The good news, it's never too late to change your trajectory, even if you're 60, 70, or 80 plus. This is your heart attack prevention blueprint, crafted with input from cardiologists, longevity experts, and real-world results. Follow this, and you give your heart the fighting chance it deserves. Step 1. Know your numbers, know your risk. Before you can fix the problem, you need to understand it. Schedule a full heart health screening and track these key metrics. Blood pressure, aim for under 130/80 mmHg. LDL cholesterol, keep it under 100 mg DL or under 70 if you have risk factors. Triglycerides, HbA1c, blood sugar. CRP, inflammation marker. Ask your doctor, what's my 10-year heart attack risk? They can use a calculator to tell you your odds and help you lower them. Step 2, move like your life. Depends on it. Because it does, you don't have to run marathons to strengthen your heart. Start with 20-30 minutes a day of brisk walking, swimming, biking, light strength training. Even walking after meals helps reduce blood sugar spikes and support artery health. Think of each step as a message to your heart. I want you to keep beating strong. Step 3, eat for arterial repair. As we explored in Part 6, foods like avocados, beans, berries, garlic, and olive oil aren't just tasty. They're vascular medicine. Here's a simple rule. Add, don't just subtract. For every harmful food you reduce, like processed meat or sugary snacks, add 2 healing foods in its place. Plan meals around leafy greens, spinach, kale, colorful vegetables, fatty fish, salmon, sardines, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Want help? In our next video, we'll show you a full day's worth of artery-loving meals. Step 4, master the silent killers: stress and sleep stress. And poor sleep can stiffen arteries, spike blood pressure, and increase heart attack risk. Daily habits that help: deep breathing, try 4-7-8 technique; meditation or prayer; gratitude journaling; consistent sleep routine, aim for 7-8 hours. Your heart loves it when your nervous system is calm and balanced. Step 5, cut out the artery saboteurs. Even one decision a day can protect you. Watch out for ultra-processed foods, frozen meals, snack cakes, trans fats and fried foods, sugary beverages, tobacco use, heavy alcohol. These damage your arteries within hours and can accelerate plaque buildup. Ask yourself, is this food helping my heart or hurting it? Step 6, prepare for emergencies. Sometimes even the healthiest people have unexpected heart events, so don't leave it to chance. Prepare with a charged phone nearby at all times, a list of emergency medications, an IC in case of emergency, contact saved in your phone, smart speakers set up for voice-activated calls, medical ID bracelet if you have a heart condition. When seconds count, preparation is everything. You've just built a fortress around your heart, but don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you love, especially if they're over 60 and think, it won't happen to me. And if you want to take this even further, watch our next video, where we'll break down the hidden signs of clogged arteries before the heart attack strikes. Remember, one food can harm your arteries in hours. One habit can protect them for decades. The choice is in your hands, starting today. Let's take a moment, just one, hand over your chest. Feel that rhythm, steady, dependable, faithful. That's your heart. It has never taken a day off. It's beat over 2.5 billion times since the day you were born. It's been there for every laugh, every hug, every quiet morning coffee. But even the strongest hearts can break. Not from emotion, but from neglect. Today, we exposed a painful truth, that a single food, eaten casually and repeatedly, can harm your arteries within hours. We walked through what that food is, how it triggers inflammation and damage, what happens in the first 1 hour when heart attacks are most likely to strike, and how the current heart attack trend is hitting seniors harder than ever before. But we didn't stop there. We gave you the tools, the 7-step prevention plan, the real foods that heal, the questions to ask your doctor, the lifestyle shifts that rebuild your arteries, your resilience, your future. And now, the next move is yours. Not next week, not after your next checkup. Now. Because when it comes to heart attacks, the worst mistake isn't what you eat, it's what you ignore. Take one action today, just one, whether it's checking your blood pressure, cleaning out your fridge, walking after dinner, or sharing this video with someone you love. That one step could change the trajectory of your life. If you're still here, that tells me something. You're not someone who gives up. You're not someone who plays roulette with their health. You're ready to protect your future and live it fully. So hit subscribe, because every week on Senior Health Guide, we bring you life-saving, heart-protecting content designed for one purpose, to help you stay healthy, independent, and here for a long, long time. And if you're wondering, what are the silent signs that my arteries may already be narrowing? Don't miss our next video. It may just save your life. Your heart has done its job for decades. Now it's your turn to return the favor. Let's take care of it together.